let's move on to our next topic. And I've already forgotten what it was. Oh, there we go. Uncle Roger cancelled in China. Now, there's this guy called Uncle Roger. Apparently, he's a Malaysian Chinese, I think. To be honest, I don't know much about the guy. He actually did a very good publicity stunt recently where he managed to get in the Western media under the premise that he was cancelled somehow in China. And it's done wonders for his upcoming comedy show or something that's coming up. Let me play something for you guys just now. I think it's him talking about it, but actually you probably won't have sound. But someone said you'll get sound through my mic, so I'll try and turn my mic around.
Hiya, the day finally arrived. Uncle Roger talked too much shit, and now all my Chinese social media suspended. Uncle Roger don't even know why. Is it because of this clip?
China, good country, good country. Good country, good country. Any niece and nephew from Taiwan? Not a real country. Not a real country.
Because Uncle Roger always talks shit about everybody. It don't matter if you BBC, CCP or Jamie Oliver. Nobody's safe. So niece and nephew, if you find that clip funny and you support free speech, go buy the Hiya special. This is the recording of the show Uncle Roger and Nephew Nigel do on tour. Buy it now and then you can watch with Uncle Roger and all the niece and nephew all over the world on June 4. Seriously, Uncle Roger's social credit score very low. Please go buy it.
Basically, this is this guy, Uncle Roger. He became famous online, or he went viral online when he had this video with the BBC where he has a fake accent. It's a very fake Asian accent because he grew up in the UK, so he doesn't have that accent. This is him kind of playing the stupid Asian trope, which a lot of people with Asian backgrounds are unhappy with. And that's how he rose to fame. But anyway, apparently he's trying to expand. So he has recently done a comedy special where he talked a bit about China and apparently got in trouble. Let's bring in Eric. Oh, and see if he knows anything about it. Eric, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm still getting over this COVID thing. It's a good thing I'm at home. Do you know much about Uncle Roger?
Well, I watched a couple of his videos before, but him as a person or what he does, generally, not really that familiar. I'm not an expert of him, but I do know that he's a comedian. I think he's based in UK, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's according to the research I did, and it's quite interesting that you're not that familiar with him because I wasn't either. But the way that the Western media has been going on these past few days has been, like making out he was some kind of massive superstar here in China and that he was cancelled. Basically, the guy, he has his fake Chinese accent and he's asked some fans in the front row, where are you from? And they're from, I'm from Guangzhou. And he's like, oh, you're from China. Ooh, good country, good country. And then he pretends his phone's been tapped and he's like, please don't make me disappear. But all of those anti-China tropes that are just not that funny. And then basically he said, oh, I hope after these comments I don't get cancelled in China. Well, the fact of the matter is you need to kind of be something before you're cancelled. And while he had a moderate following on Weibo, I wouldn't say at all that he's well known in China. But it is true that his Weibo account was, it's locked currently. It's not removed. You can still see his content, but he can't post anymore. Have you heard much about that, Eric?
Well, personally, I haven't heard much about it before tonight, before you suggested that we would actually, discuss this topic. I didn't know that. And I mean, I think on some other platforms in China, his accounts are still active. I think, at least an hour ago when I checked, there are some active accounts still. So when he said he's cancelled in China, I don't know which actor or which actors he is referring to. Is it just Weibo, one platform, or other social media platforms?
I think Weibo and Bilibili, but he didn't even have many followers on Bilibili either. So I don't think there's anything to cancel, to be honest. I think the guy, as the comment down below from Ling Tao says, Uncle Roger is a bully in Asian culture. Americans and white people think bullying others is a joke that's different from Asian and European culture. I think a lot of actually a lot of Asian people do feel the same way, because for one, this terrible accent he's doing, it's just not funny, and it's kind of making fun of people who have an accent who, in the West, especially at the moment, can be the subjects of bullying. This is another comment. Marion Norton says, comedians diss everything. That's why they're funny. I agree with that as well. But the thing is, I just don't think what Uncle Roger, or whatever his name is, said was even funny at all. So sure, if he said something that dissed somebody and it was funny in any way, that could be interesting. But what he said, and I'm maybe not his target audience, but I just didn't find it funny. Sorry. I don't know if you've seen any of his comedy, Eric.
Well, I mean, I have mixed feelings about comedians or talk shows and a lot of stuff because it's just a very subjective thing for different audience members. Some people can get really offended by these jokes that, I don't know, were well-intended or not, because many times comedians would, employ and perhaps then therefore reinforce some stereotypes that are untrue, that would only, make the harm on some certain groups of people even more serious. So I do have mixed feelings about it because, they want to get laughters out of people. They want to pretend to be critical. I don't know. They want to label themselves with this superior label of looking at things from a God's perspective and being able to criticize or get to the knack of everything. I just don't really think that all jokes are appropriate. There are certain cultural boundaries that should be treated with extra caution. And if you do that, I mean, you should think about the consequences in that setting, in a specific cultural setting. So if he is canceled on certain platforms, on Chinese social media platforms, I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, it's definitely a very controversial issue because jokes, humors, or offense are perceived very differently in different cultural settings.
Yeah, I think that is very important to remember because, especially in the West, the funny thing is, people are talking about, how can China be so sensitive to cancel this guy for making a joke? But it's very hypocritical coming from the West, especially the US and the UK, everywhere in the Anglosphere, which is currently besieged by PC culture. At the moment, you can't say anything there. People aren't even willing to host the Oscars or the Golden Globes anymore because they're scared of offending somebody who they can't offend and losing their whole career. So it's just very rich for people in the West to turn around and say, I can't believe China cancelled him over a joke. You need to look at the situation in your comedy scene. People like Joan Rivers, who I think was a brilliant comedian, she attacked everybody. She was not PC in any way, and many people feel that is a bygone era. We have a comment here from George Sibley, who says that Uncle, what is his name again? Uncle Roger. Sorry, Uncle Roger has 7.3 million subscribers on YouTube, so not a minor celebrity. I'm not saying at all that he's a minor celebrity in the West. I think he's quite popular in the UK. His BBC video has more than 30 million views, but in China, I don't think he's very well known at all. He may have a niche following. I think he had 400,000 followers on Weibo, maybe 400,000 followers on Bilibili. But even, not to blow my own trumpet, but even my own show that deals with news and politics, which hardly anyone wants to watch, has much more followers than that in China. So I think it's fair to say that there was nothing really to cancel. And I want to bring up a tweet here that I very much agree with. From, I can't even pronounce, Geokialicious, sorry, to this person who I follow, quite a good commentator. Okay, I got to talk about the Uncle Roger cancelled thing, I guess. One, he's not cancelled in China. Chinese people barely know him other than the first viral fried rice video of him. His Bilibili account and Weibo account got suspended because he was being racist and hostile to Chinese. Two, not a single Chinese official government account or person talked about him. None. Chinese government doesn't give a F about him. Number 3, most Chinese people who are cancelling him are overseas Chinese, Chinese diaspora and other East Asians, because we have been through the COVID-led Asian hate, and we're the ones who are directly affected by the stereotypes which he repeated in his shows. I think that pretty much, for me, hits the nail on the head. And we've talked about it already with anti-Asian hate. A lot of these things you've got to take into account, Eric.
I mean, I'm not sure if his accounts are going to go back. They perhaps will, perhaps not. I mean, these social media, they are also run by private firms here in China. So just like, those in the US, Facebook, Twitter, and all those different platforms have their own policies to remove some accounts or label some accounts. I know that your account was labeled state affiliated media or something, but then it was removed, right?
On Twitter, Yeah,
on Twitter. So they have their own policies, and you cannot just interpret it as a top-down government action. Gosh, we have 1.4 billion people to attend to here. I don't really think that the government cares so much about this one single person. That's not even Chinese.
Exactly. I think a lot of people have these delusions of grandeur when it comes to China. They think the Chinese government runs everything and it's this one monolith. And so, like you said, and China has a vast, huge amount of, social media apps that are hugely popular. TikTok comes from China. It's an app called Douyin. And there are so many different video apps in China. And like you said, Eric, they all have their own guidelines, their own rules for content. So if one app decides, we don't like that, we're going to close this account for now, or whatever it is, whatever the reason was, which I don't know, it's not a directive from the government. The government in Beijing, they don't care about somebody called Uncle Roger. This is all done by separate apps that are all run, like you said, they're private companies. They're all, they all have their own guidelines, they all have their own rules, and it's up to them what they have on their apps or not. So there was another comment on here that I want to read from CJ Fu, who says, how the F can you do a story about someone you don't even know? I think that's the point. The point of the fact of the matter is that I don't even know who he is. So when I saw Western media talking about, he's been cancelled in China, I'm sure you would agree, CJ, that you have to kind of be somebody before you can be cancelled. And that is the point we're making here. But I think on that note, we will move on to the final story, because that is a bit much about someone we don't know.